Hey, good morning. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom, Pajama Gramma here with our next Expert Secrets lesson. Today we're going to talk about the second part of the Epiphany Bridge. Excuse me while I sneak a adventure drink of coffee. Now, kind of like bridges. Why do we want to speak in kind of like bridges? We're talking about pages, I need my magnifying glass, page 96 to page 102 in the Expert Secrets book. And this is all about being an effective storyteller, an effective communicator. We tend to speak the way we speak, but we have to always remember who we're speaking to, who our audience is. And when I was growing up and when I was in college and when I was learning about public speaking and speaking to audiences and speaking in corporate America and speaking wherever I might speak, even speaking to my college classmates, we were told to write your speeches at a 7th or an 8th grade level. 8th grade level seems to be the thing that the media and the education system purports that you should speak at. But according to Russell Brunson and a lot of new information, we should actually be explaining to people and telling our stories at a 3rd grade level. We should be telling our stories as if we're speaking to our children. Now, if you don't have children, this might be a difficult thing for you to relate to. But if you do have kids, you know what I'm talking about. You'll mention a concept or you'll talk about something and your kids will give you that look like, what the heck are you talking about, Mom? And that's when you know you have to find a way to communicate that thought or that idea or that word that you used in a way that they can understand at the level that they're at right now. And Russell shares about the presidential election and how Trump's speeches were written at a 3rd or 4th grade level, and the other candidates were written at an 8th or 9th grade level. And you know, who knows that if that has anything to do with the with the results of the election or not, no idea. But people don't want to feel stupid when you're talking to them. And if you use a lot of big words or technobabble or terminology that they don't understand, they just turn off and they don't hear your message at all. They say no. A confused mind will always say no. So we always want to be speaking to people in a way that they can understand and relate to. And we do that with something Russell calls kind of like bridges. So if I am talking about something, whether it's to business clients or to my best friend, if I say something that they don't understand or that they might not understand, I need to think of something that they do understand and explain that and then make a bridge from what they understand to the concept or the term or whatever it is that I'm trying to explain to them. And Russell does this through kind of like bridges. So another thing I think that we should all start doing is making a list of the technical terms, the terminology that we automatically use when we're talking about our product or service or what it is that we're teaching people. And for each one of those, create a kind of like bridge with something that our target audience would already understand. So I'll make a worksheet for that, and we'll have on one side what they understand, and on the other side something that we're trying to explain. So we'll list out our technical terms, our technobabble, and then something that they could understand, the people in our target audience, and then our job is to think about, well, how do we bridge the gap between those two things? So for example, if I'm talking about chronic pain, and I'm trying to explain to somebody what it feels like, somebody that doesn't have chronic pain, I could use a couple of analogies, and depending on who I'm talking to. If I'm talking to a mom or a woman that's had a baby, I can explain that chronic pain is like dogs barking when you're trying to do a video. No, chronic pain is kind of like having a baby, only the intensity of that pain is something that you're experiencing all the time, or over and over again several times a day throughout your day. So if someone's had a baby, they could understand that level of pain, even though they haven't experienced chronic pain. Another example would be if I'm trying to explain to somebody what my particular migraine might feel like. And for each of us, our migraines are different. So my migraine on one particular day, it might be something that they could relate to. I might explain that it feels kind of like a bunch of bombs going off in my head. another personal one that I can explain to people that most people haven't experienced is I have an internal cardiac device. And I didn't think it would ever kick me, but it actually did. So I can explain to people that it's kind of like being kicked in the chest by a donkey, but from the inside out. That is actually how I explain it to people that have never been had their ICD go off. Now, someone who's got an internal cardiac device and it's gone off, they know exactly what I'm talking about because they've actually felt it. But somebody that hasn't felt it, they can imagine what it would feel like to be kicked in the chest by a donkey, even if they haven't been kicked in the chest by a donkey or a horse, and how that would feel. And then they can tweak that and say from the inside out, because that's what it feels like. So that's my way of explaining to people what that feels like. So we want to draw people in to the conversation and always be explaining to them what we mean when we use a term. Even simple terms and things that we think are commonplace need to be explained to people. So think of an example, and think of a couple of examples of things that you've said around your kids or said to your kids that they didn't understand what you were talking about. A lot of times it'd be something that's going on at work or in your business, and you think that they might understand it, and you're talking about it, and they just give you that look is like, I don't have a clue what you're talking about. And then you have to think of something at their level, at the third grade level, that they could understand, or that your current target market, the level that they're thinking at, the level of their experience, where they are right now, that they can relate to. So our exercise today is all about building kind of like bridges. The other thing that Russell talks about in this chapter that's really important is adding emotion and feeling to your stories. And he gives the example from the X-Men movie. I think it's I can't remember what it's called, the beginning X-Men movie that goes back to when they were children and how they discovered their powers. And in TV and films, it's really easy to demonstrate that because there's so many different ways of showing. But when we're just speaking or writing, it's a little more challenging. We have to actually consciously remember to add the emotional words, to add the feeling words, to go back to where we were when we first had the epiphany, when we first had the aha moment that we're trying to convey to the people that we're talking to or show the people that we're talking to so that they understand how we felt. Because unless you're adding the feeling and the emotions that you felt, it falls on deaf ears. People don't get it. You know, have you ever told a story about something or a joke? I'm a terrible joke teller because I can't get people into the state of understanding the joke. And part of the whole Epiphany Bridge and why we're telling stories and to help people have that same aha moment and experience, we have to get them into the same state we were in when we had that. And you can do that in several ways, but the quickest, easiest way is to go back yourself, recall and remember, how did you feel? What were you feeling? What emotions were you experiencing? And then describe that in great detail to the people that you're talking to. So we'll do an exercise about that today as well. Think about when you got excited about what it is that you're teaching people about, and go back to it and remember in as much detail as you possibly can. How were you feeling? What were you thinking? What was going on in your life? What was going on around you? And share that with other people. So that's it for today. Go out, do your kind of like bridges. I would add that to my stories book if I were you, my stories inventory, and always have a handful of kind of like bridges. So whenever something comes up that people might not understand, you're explaining it at a third grade level. See you tomorrow. Bye.